All right, welcome to this explainer. Over the next 7 minutes or so, we're going to build a really wholesome understanding of a completely paradigm-shifting approach to raising kids. Look, most of the parenting advice out there today, it's basically just behavior management, right? Like speak this way, correct that way, reward them here, punish them there. But today, we're diving into the prophetic path, and this goes so much deeper. It's not just a checklist of rules. It literally changes how you see your kids, how you shape their character, and how you build a home vibe that naturally breeds mercy, discipline, and trust. Let's jump right in.
What is a child? I know. It sounds super simple, but honestly, this single question is the entire foundation of the prophetic approach. Because think about it. If you get this wrong, every single parenting hack you try is going to get distorted. If we look at our kids just as problems we have to manage, well, we immediately become controlling. We just want to shut down the noise, fix the issue, and move on. But if we view them as a trust, suddenly we become responsible nurturers. Just that one tiny mental shift completely changes your tone, your patience, and ultimately the kind of adult that child is going to become.
So let's break down what that actually means. Number one, a child is a trust, not property. You don't own them the way you own, say, a piece of furniture. It's kind of like, imagine someone hands you the keys to their house while they're on vacation. You get to live there, sure, but you don't get to just smash the windows, trash the place, or rearrange everything just because you feel like it, right? You don't own that child's soul or their future. You're a steward. You're morally accountable for protecting and shaping what you've been given. It really takes our ego out of the equation and turns parenting into this beautiful stewardship. Which leads us straight to our second truth. A child is a growing being, not a finished product. Which sounds super obvious, but man, so many of our everyday frustrations happen because we completely forget this. We sit there expecting a toddler to reason or regulate their emotions or just obey like a fully mature adult before they even have the brain wiring to do so. Think of a child like a tiny, fragile little sapling. You wouldn't take a young tree, tie a cinder block to it, and then get mad when it bends, right? Absolutely not. You support it while it gets stronger. They aren't weak in some shameful way. They're literally just young. Moving on to point 3, and this is all about how they learn. Children are basically 24/7 observers. Imagine standing in a super quiet room with crazy good acoustics. It picks up every single pin drop. It doesn't just hold the sound, it amplifies it. Well, kids are like that room. They absorb your tone of voice, your facial expressions, the whole emotional vibe of the house, and all your hidden habits, not just the stuff you actually say out loud. So if your house has a be kind rule, but everyone walks around being sarcastic and snapping at each other, guess what? The kid learns the hidden lesson. They are mirrors, just reflecting whatever environment we set up for them. Now here's where it gets really interesting. In this prophetic view, children are definitely not just blank slates waiting for us to forcibly carve our rules into them. They come pre-installed with something called Fitrah. That's this original inner disposition that naturally pulls them toward goodness, truth, and a connection to the Creator. Think of them like incredibly fertile soil. Yes, good soil still needs you to water it, give it sunlight, and weed it, but it already has the magic of life built right in. We aren't manufacturing goodness out of thin air here. We just need to water, protect, and gently guide the goodness that is already baked into their DNA. And to nurture that fitrah, you really have to remember truth number 5, relationship comes way before reasoning. As adults, we always want to hit them with our airtight, logical explanations first, don't we? But kids, they feel the relationship first. Think of trust as a door. If the relationship feels unsafe to them, your logic is just going to bounce right off a locked door. You can knock all you want, but nobody's letting you in. That is exactly why mercy and gentleness, they aren't just like nice fluffy extras. They are the literal prerequisites you need to make your truth reachable for the child. So looking at this comparison, you can see it really requires a massive mental shift. On the left, the false view sees a kid as just a thing to control, right? Force them to act like an adult and use pure power for discipline. But on the right, the prophetic view sees a developing trust that you are caring for. You aren't forcing goodness in, you're nurturing that fitrah we talked about. Discipline here doesn't run on sheer power. It runs on trust and fairness. We literally have to stop asking, how do I get them to just comply today? And start asking, what kind of human being is this child actually becoming? All right, let's get deeply practical for a second, because high-level philosophy is totally useless if it can't survive a chaotic Tuesday afternoon. When reality hits, the spilled juice, the toddler meltdown, the teenager giving you the silent treatment, asking this one specific question is a total game changer. What is this moment asking me to build? Instead of panicking and thinking, how do I stop this right now? You zoom out. You look at the long-term architecture of their character. And building that architecture means juggling 3 jobs all at once. Literally every time you respond to your kid, you're trying to balance these three things: protection from harm, formation of their habits, and connection to preserve trust. And you really have to weave them together. Because think about it. If you lean way too hard into protection, you just become a helicopter controlling parent. If you obsess over formation, your home becomes rigid and harsh. But if you just do connection without the other two, you end up with total permissiveness. They absolutely have to operate simultaneously.
Now, when a kid messes up, let's be real, it is deeply human to just get mad. But we absolutely must shift from just reacting to actually guiding. A reaction that just vents your own frustration, usually embarrasses the kid, and frankly, it's just about ending the noise so you can get some peace. But guidance is totally different. Guidance names what went wrong clearly, but it keeps the child's dignity perfectly intact, and it actually teaches them what to do next time. A reaction just ends the moment, but guidance shapes their future.
Which brings us to an incredibly humbling reality check for all of us. Kids usually can't separate what you said from how you said it. You could be dropping the most profound, truthful wisdom ever, but if you're delivering it with panic, chaos, or contempt, the child is literally just learning the chaos. They're going to remember if a correction felt like you cared about them or if it felt like you despised them. So your steady, calm presence, it's not just a nice-to-have bonus. It is actually the core part of the lesson you are trying to teach. And that tone feeds right into something called the invisible curriculum. Honestly, every single home has one, whether we realize it or not. We're teaching this curriculum every single day by how we handle our own stress, how we argue with each other. And this is a big one, whether we actually apologize when we mess up. If a kid sees mistakes being met with shame, they learn to hide, period. But if they see mistakes met with calm, truthful repair, they learn how to recover. And this invisible curriculum quietly but surely becomes their default setting when they grow up. You know, a lot of people think you have to pick a lane. You're either the strict, tough parent or you're the nice, fun parent. The prophetic model says absolutely no way to that split. If you just give them mercy without any structure, you're creating massive confusion for the kid. They have no idea where the edges of the world are. But on the flip side, structure without mercy just creates hardness and deep resentment. The two concepts have to work together to create a vibe that feels both incredibly safe, but also dependably structured. To really picture this balance, think about a bridge. A bridge literally has to have flexibility so it can sway with the wind and absorb traffic, right? But it also needs immense, rock-solid strength so it doesn't just collapse under the weight. Your kid needs exactly that from you. They need your softness and flexibility so they feel secure to come to you. But they desperately need your firmness and strength so they learn where the boundaries are. That combination is exactly what makes a home feel like a safe harbor. Because look, the long-term game plan here isn't just blind obedience when you happen to be standing right there watching them. The ultimate goal is to carefully construct their inner compass. Over time, as they repeatedly experience you speaking the truth with mercy, enforcing limits with absolute fairness, and always reconnecting after correction, they internalize that. They don't just memorize a list of rules. They learn how to judge right from wrong completely on their own. You are literally forming a human conscience. And ultimately, when you truly start wearing this prophetic lens, you're not just picking up some trendy new parenting hacks, you're actually breaking the cycle of panic, labeling, and harshness. You start learning how to read what a child actually needs beneath the surface and how to guide them without breaking their trust. Adopting this, it doesn't just change the way you parent, it fundamentally, from the inside out, transforms your own character and your own soul. So I want to leave you with this one final thought to chew on today. A prophetic home is not a home where there is zero conflict. Let's be real, that's literally impossible. But it is a home where conflict is used as fuel for profound growth instead of permanent damage. Knowing that your daily habits are actively shaping a developing soul right this very second. What kind of shape will your parenting leave behind? Tomorrow, when that inevitable messy moment happens, how will you use it to build trust instead of fear? Thanks so much for exploring this explainer with me, and I really hope this helps you see those everyday moments in a totally new light.